حي على الفلاح.
He says, وَالْمَعْنَى خِزْيٌ, humiliation, أو عذاب, or punishment, أو هلكة, or destruction, أو واد في جهنم لكل همزة لمزة, or the valley or a famous valley in hellfire in Jahannam for anyone who is humaza and lumaza. In other words, there are several narrations of the Prophet ﷺ describing the lowest pit in the hellfire. It is also called Wail. And that valley is so scary that hellfire itself, according to some narrations, asks Allah to protect itself from it. That's Wail. And so by using that word in the general sense, that's one, but also the worst form of destruction, the lowest pit, ad-dark al-asfali min an-nar, for these people who are humaza and lumaza. May Allah not make us from them. قال ابن كيسان الهمزة. Ibn Kisan says that in regards to humaza, what does he say? الذي يؤذي جلساءه بسوء اللفظ, the one who harms the people sitting around him with the worst kinds of words. واللمزة, and lumaza الذي يكسر عينه على جليسه, the one who passes his eyes over the people he's sitting around, meaning he winks at them and he's poking fun at them just by communication through the eyes. وَيَشِيرُ بِيَدِهِ, or he points at them with his hands. وَبِرَأْسِهِ, or with facial gestures or with his head. وَبِحَاجِبِهِ, meaning when he's not even in their company. وَالْأَوَّلْ أُولَى, but the first meaning the one who makes fun of people with their words, that's the most obvious meaning. وَبِنَاءُ فُعَلَ, and the construction of فُعَلَ. يَدُلُّ عَلَى الْكَثْرَةِ, we talked about this before. It illustrates not magnitude, but it illustrates many, multifold. Something happens over and over again. فَفِيهِ دَلَالَةٌ عَلَى أَنَّهُ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ كَثِيرًا, that includes the evidence that he does this often. First, we'll start with hamaza. Hamaza yahmizu actually means to poke someone with a sharp object. That's what the literal word means. Mihmaz in the Arabic language are spikes used on the shoes of a horse rider. These horse riders, they would have little tiny spikes on the sides of their shoes. So when the horse is getting slow, they kick the horse. But they don't kick it with their shoe. It's that little pokey corner that perturbs the horse and makes it go faster. That's called mihmas, from the same. It's also used for a wooden stick that has a metallic tip at the end. أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين is another ayah. I seek your refuge from the pokings or disturbings or the annoyances of the shayateen. Humaza, those who are constantly engaged in annoying people, and what they say pokes at people, disturbs them, perturbs them. Also illustrates they don't stop until they see the person poked. They keep going until they see that the person, you can really see them being irked on their face. And until they see it, mission is not accomplished. And they have to keep going, and they have to keep going. This is humaza. Then lumaza. From lamaza yalmizu, from daraba yadribu, from the same pattern as daraba yadribu, to be on someone's case to find a flaw, meaning to stay on someone's case constantly until you find something to criticize. By the way, we're all human beings, so do we all have features that should be criticized or deserve to be criticized? Yes. All of us have flaws. So when you're on somebody's case looking for a flaw, will you find it? Absolutely. And then to point them out and to accuse and expose and humiliate them. This is lamaza. Lamazahu, he gestured at him with the eye or lip or low speech, meaning to speak under one's tongue against someone. Oh, here comes. That's also lamazahu. That's from the linguistic. This is not tafsir now, this is the linguistic meaning, how it's found in Lisan al-Arab and Bahr al-Muhit and places like that. It's also, lamazahu also means he spoke evil of him, or he found fault with him. Another similar word offered is yaghtabuhum, that he backbit against them. Anyone who is condescending, arrogant, insensitive, critical, backbiting, self-indulged, harsh, disrespectful, inconsiderate, vulgar, irreverent, conceited in one's speech, in one's attitudes, or in one's body language. All of that would be humaza and lumaza. I know, it's recorded, you'll get it eventually. Okay, now we come to the next ayah. الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ. The first thing to explore is, what's the connection between these two things? What's the connection between this attribute of being hurtful to other people, and the second one is dedicated to one concept? Shallow translation, the one who gathered wealth and counted it. That's the shallow translation. So what's the connection between the one who's always critical of people and the one who's gathering wealth? When the one who's always gathering wealth doesn't give any of it, so gets criticized by the people as being greedy. And he doesn't like being criticized. And the best defense is offense. Right? So before he can get to hear from someone, you should be more charitable, you should worry about, there are other things to worry about in life than money. Before he gets to hear that criticism, what does he constantly do? Constantly describing others' flaws. Engaged in being humaza or lumaza, or both rather, even worse, being engaged in both. Covering his own flaw of being indulged in his own wealth, or her own wealth. This is the first thing. The other thing here is, remember I said, when a person doesn't have a higher goal in life, they get lost in trivial pursuits? Well, one trivial pursuit was the first ayah, finding flaws in people. What's the other trivial pursuit? Gathering wealth and constantly making plans for the future. And these people, they become so narrow-minded, when you start worrying about your deen and less about saving your money, you know what they say to you? Think about your future. Right? And the ironic thing is, you are thinking about your future. They're the ones who are not thinking about your future. And they're saying, think long term. And guess what? The irony is, they're the ones thinking short term. You know, what are you going to do in the next 10 years? Dude, what are we going to do for the next 1,000 years in our grave? What's going to happen after we get out? That's long term thinking. This isn't long term thinking. But their minds get wrapped around this idea, and this becomes their whole worldview. So he's saying, how much are you going to gather anyway? Your wealth compared to the wealth that is out there in the world is nothing. So what is it that you're so proud of? It's حقير. فكيف يليق به أن يفتخر بذلك القليل? How can it be for anyone of intellect that they be proud of something so minuscule? The other way, some ulama looked at it. They said, فما متاع الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا قليل في سورة التوبة. The entire utility of worldly life, when compared to the next, is nothing but a little. This is what you're proud of? This is really what you have to, that you're so full of yourself about? Compare this to this same person's attitude on the Day of Judgment. Allah says, on the Day of Judgment, nothing will benefit him. مِلْءُ الْأَرْضِ ذَهَبًا وَلَوْ اِفْتَدَى بِهِ. Even if he offers the weight of the entire planet Earth in gold, and tried to exchange that for his own salvation, gave that away, it wouldn't benefit him. So what is he so proud of? It doesn't make any sense. And يكون المراد, it can also mean that the meaning here is منه التعظيم أي مالا بلغ في الخبث والفساد أقصى النهايات. Also means that الذي, this dham of it illustrates that he went and tried to gather wealth, whether those means be filthy or corrupt. Now compare this to the Muslim mind. The Muslim mind is, you have an old man who's already got a foot in the grave, and he's planting a seed in the ground for a tree to grow. And you ask him, you're not going to live long enough for this tree to grow. And he says, well, it will give somebody shade one day, sadaqah jariyah for me. This is the mind of the Muslim, right? That's what it's supposed to be. We think about how the future will be benefited. Not, live, eat, sleep, drink, and die. That's it. This is the reversal of thought. And that's really, when we read this stuff, we shouldn't just think about what's happening a millennium and a half ago. These are realities of our time. These are serious problems of our time. And unfortunately, just because we're Muslim doesn't mean that we haven't been engrossed in the deepest depths of the black greed of capitalism. We ourselves have become really nasty capitalists ourselves. And we don't think about the greater good and serving society and building the kinds of institutions, right? We've become people of الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدًا. May Allah protect us from it and get us out of this mess. So the first ayah is dedicated towards his attitude against others, and the second is his occupation for himself. What is he occupied with himself? Interestingly, know that what is expected of the human being is the exact opposite. You are supposed to be the best to others, and you're supposed to not keep wealth for yourself, but be giving. What is expected of you is the exact opposite of the behavior being described. So addada, to count and place, to count over and over again, to keep track of the count, and it can also be, like I said, associated with preparing for future need. That's a deep question to ask. When you ask, why do you want money to a child, they say, I don't know. I might want something later. Right? But ask yourself the difficult question, why does humanity run after wealth? If the food is on the plate today, you stop worrying about today, you start worrying about tomorrow. In other words, akhlada doesn't just mean eternal life. It means that which will continue to sustain him endlessly. In other words, he's worried that if he doesn't have savings, he or she will cease to exist. People become suicidal when their stock account, it drops. right? Their investment accounts went to zero and they became suicidal because they associated surviving with savings. Not with food they have right now, but the food they were saving for tomorrow. This is part of the meaning of akhlada. He doesn't just think he'll live forever, but he thinks that his future needs, this is from ikhlad, from khulud, his future needs are taken care of because he or she has savings, because they have these savings. So this, and by the way, this is tied to the idea of building monuments. You know, people, they want to be known for things, and one of the things people get known for is wealth. And you know, at the end of people's lives, if they don't believe in an afterlife, they don't give it in sadaqah, they give in their own form of sadaqah. They'll donate to a charity or to a hospital, to a university, so a monument will be named after them, right? So this is the only thing of them that will live on. So they're making their wealth a means by means of which they can live on through these empty monuments, this rock and metal or whatever is used to make those monuments. This concept is also talked about in the Quran. When the nation of Hud is mentioned, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَتَتَّخِذُونَ مَصَانِعَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَخْلُدُونَ تَخْلُدُونَ. You make statues so you can live forever? What does that have to do with living forever? No, their name, their legacy, their memory will live forever. Is this your reason for building these unnecessary monuments?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you enjoyed this video, please do share it with friends and family. If you want to see more videos from this series, click on the box at the top. If you want to see other videos, click on the box at the bottom. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks.